What is up? My name is George, and this is the Sports Freak. Alright, so the Cincinnati Bengals, a lot of people are already writing them off next season. But there's a valid argument for that because the Bengals, the way the organization has been run the past couple of seasons and when they've showed on the field. But that being said, yeah, they had the first pick in this year's draft. They took Joe Burrow, and obviously you have to be the worst team in the NFL to get the first pick in the draft. But they got Joe Burrow, the quarterback from LSU, who had arguably the greatest season in college football history, led LSU to a national title, or 15-0, and Joe Burrow shattered records left and right all across the field. He was unbelievable under pressure. Under pressure, his stats improved, which is something that you rarely see. A lot of people are talking, already for next year's mock drafts, teams that are going to, already suck. They already know they're going to suck for sure in next year's draft and next year's season is the Bengals. But I'm here to tell you, I don't think you should sleep on Joe Burrow and the offense next season. Obviously, the whole pandemic right now has kind of put a slow halt on things, but that's put a slow halt on every single team as well. They traded Andy Dalton, and it's a new era officially, And one thing I want to get quickly, kind of the whole notion that the Bengals are this really shit organization that can't do anything right. They're like terrible, because you see Stephen A. Smith on ESPN, he craps on the Bengals and says, Tua's gonna have the better. He's comparing Tua and Joe. He says Tua's gonna have the better career because he's at the Dolphins. He's a better organization. I don't think that is the case, because the Bengals, they made the playoffs 5 seasons in a row. Back when they drafted Andy Dalton and AJ Green. Obviously, when they got to the playoffs, they never won a playoff game. Andy Dalton was pathetic in the playoffs. He was non-existent, was terrible. His stats show it. He had thrown multiple interceptions over his 3 playoff games that he was in. And the fact that the only one that they actually got close to winning was when AJ McCarron was the starter. They were a good organization. That's my point. They weren't some shit organization. The Browns, honestly, they were the worst in my opinion over the past 2 decades so far. At least the Bengals were making the playoffs. They were showing stuff. They were doing stuff. They were winning their division. They were making it. And so this isn't some organization that's just completely pathetic and is not going to do anything ever. Obviously they struggled last season. 2-14. Andy Dalton had a terrible year. AJ Green, their star wide receiver, was banged up. He missed the whole season due to injury. And obviously, the Zach Taylor, the new head coach, trying to bring in a new system. So they get Joe Burrow in the first round. Joe Burrow, as I said, we all know, stud. Second round, first pick of the second round, they get T. Higgins, the wide receiver from Clemson. Now, T. Higgins is a really, really underrated wide receiver. Kind of funny story is that this guy is a big AJ Green fan. Big AJ Green fan. He's even said before, I will play with AJ Green one day. He was a Bengals fan because of AJ Green, and now he is a Bengals. So it's very, very coincidental and funny that he will be playing alongside AJ Green. He's going to be learning from one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And funny enough, they both are very similar in their style of play. They're both 6'4", huge, they can go up there and grab the ball. They got great arm width, spacing around him. That's another thing about Joe Burrow is going to take advantage of that. He's going to have so much confidence in these guys just to put the ball in their area and they can go up there and grab it. As I said before, he's an underrated wide receiver. His junior year at Clemson, 1,167 yards, 13 touchdowns, which is pretty solid considering he was pretty banged up also this season as well. People don't realize. He is a monster for wide receiver. He can go up there and grab the ball, and he's not the smoothest route runner of the world, but he's a great wide receiver to go up there and get the ball handsy. He's going to make a cornerback's nightmare to cover in terms of you just have to place the ball above, and this guy will go and get it. If you just want any proof, you can go watch the games versus Alabama. Pretty much in the national championship, Alabama last year, and then pretty much a bunch of other plays across the whole season. This guy can go up there and grab the ball, and he will not drop it. That's how good of a wide receiver he is. I know he's not the smoothest route runner. He's not Jerry Jeudy. He's not going to create separation like that all the time. Break ankles, left and right with his running ability, his athleticism. But he's got hands. He can go up there and grab the ball. In the end zone, the red zone, 3rd and goal, the game's on the line. You got AJ Green, and then you got T. Higgins. Both of them got hands. Both of them put it up there. It makes it a nightmare for a defensive coordinator. How do I shut down two of these wide receivers who can go up there and get it? And people also sort of forget that the Bengals, like their depth chart, their roster, they, as I said before, AJ Green, T. Higgins, they got Tyler Boyd. They have John Ross, who, he clocked the fastest time at the 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine a couple of years ago. This guy's still a stud. He's a fast wide receiver. And they have Joe Mixon, who is really, really good, under the radar running back that people kind of forget about. Like, he's actually pretty good. And to top of that, people, talk about Joe Burrow and his whole talented team that he had around him at LSU. Nobody knew who Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Thaddeus Moss. I mean, people only knew Thaddeus Moss because of his father, but other than that, no one knew anything about him. People didn't know who Terrence Marshall was. No one knew Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Nobody knew who these guys were last season. Joe Burrow turned these guys into first rounders, into special talented people. They would not have been known for what they were if it was not for Joe Burrow. So imagine Joe Burrow getting a bunch of somebodies that we've already heard of, and imagine what he's going to do with that talent around him. So don't write off this offense just because it's the Bengals. This organization, they're not run that well. Joe Burrow has that killer mentality. I'm going to go up there, put the work in, get the connection with the guys. The way his work ethic, the way he describes himself, the way he puts in the time, it's just tremendous. That's the main thing. That's the only way you can win games, is by putting in the hard work to be this consistent. If you watch his film from his junior year to his senior year, there was a night and day difference. You can go back, watch his Alabama game, his junior year, and then compare it to his game against Alabama his senior year. It's completely different. Joe Burrow is a completely different player. He studied his ass off. He studied the defense, the playbook. He understood coverages, the holds, the gaps, the first and second read, when it's going to be open, how to get these guys open, the fixing the stuff at the line, making the right adjustments. This is a special quarterback. He is super smart. That's what I'm saying. He's going to get these guys who are already somebodies and make them even better. Like I said before, he took a bunch of nobodies at LSU. Justin Jefferson he was like a 0-star recruit. Jamar Chase, I had never heard of him until this season. Terrence Marshall, a lot of people under the radar. He is a stud wide receiver that they had this season too. I had no idea who he was. Thaddeus Moss, I had no clue besides, look, it's his son. But, he turned these guys into somebodies. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who would know this guy would be, from the start of the season? Yeah, maybe he'll be an undrafted free agent or something if he decides to go this year. And look, at the end of the season, he's the first pick by the Chiefs in round one. That's all thanks to Joe Burrow and the work ethic that he instills, and that sort of it factor, that leadership, that thing that flows from him, that goes to the players around him. He's that type of a player. This isn't a franchise that's going to fall off on the edge of a cliff. I know they had also a offensive line that is great this past season, but they did go out there and make some moves, not like the greatest moves. I think a lot of Bengals fans would probably want the Bengals to have made better moves in the offseason, but they went out there. They got a guard from the Cowboys, Xavier Su'a-Filo. Cowboys they've always had a good offensive line with Dak Prescott. So imagine this guy's going to fit in. He's going to help, obviously, tremendously help the offensive line. And then last year's draft, the first pick that they had, they took an offensive tackle from Alabama, Jonah Williams. He missed his whole rookie season due to injury. He's coming back. He's fresh. He is a stud. That automatically helps the offensive line as well. And he already learned. He already knows the system. He got to sit. He got to learn. He's going to be already I see what we missed, the mistakes we made last season. Watch the film. I saw what the defense was doing. I understand now. I can go out there. Had a whole season to just sit and watch. A season I wasn't supposed to sit and watch, but I did. And now I can go out there and just take the NFL by storm and help Joe Burrow protect his ass, make sure he's not on the ground. And on top of that, people, the offensive line issues is still probably going to be there because, you have to mesh and gel it together. Joe Burrow in college football was one of the best quarterbacks I have ever seen under pressure to extend plays. His offensive line won the best offensive line of the year award, but a lot of that was because of Joe Burrow's ability to scramble. He has got amazing pocket presence, and that's going to translate to the NFL. He played against NFL elite-style defenses going in when he played against Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, Auburn, guys who had first-rounders all over the field, and he gave it to them. They could not do anything to stop him. He was able to manipulate the pocket, extend plays. So it's not going to be this huge sort of, oh my goodness, he's going to die out there. No, he's not going to die out there. This guy's a smart guy. He's going to put the work in. He has great pocket awareness. He can extend plays. if you look at his highlights, some of his best plays were when he was extending the plays. So that's something that he's going to bring into on day one, on week one, whoever the Bengals play first. I'm not going to speak for the Bengals defense. I know the Bengals defense. I'm not very convinced on the Bengals defense. They've also made some moves in the offseason, bringing in defensive tackle, cornerbacks, different positions, various to bring a little depth. You know, they draft-wise brought in some people that on the some linebackers and stuff in the draft. They did. You know, they brought more depth in, so you won't be able to see it right now. Whether it's going to help, you have to wait the long term to see it. But obviously, right now, I can't say that the Bengals defense is going to be that great. I'm not saying the Bengals are going to win the whole thing. They're not. They're definitely not. Because I said before, I don't know anything about the defense. The defense is probably not going to be good this season. You know, it's a work in process. But don't write off their offense. I can easily see this pass-oriented, this spread offense that they're going to run to Joe Burrow, and it's going to be difficult for defensive coordinators to game plan each week for that. And as I said before, AJ Green, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, John Ross, Joe Mixon. This isn't like a bunch of scrubs. These are good wide receivers who are playing under a quarterback who had the greatest season in college football history, who's super smart. Tom Brady smart. He understands. He is a sniper out there. He is going to pick apart your defense. He knows. He's smart. He knows what you're running. This isn't going to be like Josh Rosen, you know, panicking and it's like crazy and stuff happens bad. You know, it's not. This is something the offense is going to be miles and miles better than what it was. And Joe Burrow, before he was even drafted, just to say that, he was already learning the Bengals playbook. There was rumors out there saying that he already was like doing stuff he had already been working on, you know. So my thing is, this offense is going to be taking a huge step next season because of that one player, Joe Burrow, and his work ethic. I know you can say he doesn't have the greatest arm. It's not the most talented arm. Yeah. Tom Brady didn't have the greatest arm. Joe Montana didn't have the greatest arm. But look at how many rings those guys have. It doesn't matter what's here. It matters what's here. And that's what Joe Burrow is going to bring. But yeah, you guys let me know what you think down below. If you think the Bengals are going to do good next year. Probably going to finish third, to be honest, behind either the Ravens or the Steelers. One of them, 1-2. Probably the Ravens, Steelers, and then them, you know. Or maybe the Browns. The Browns are also in the mix too as well. But I don't know yet. They also have a first-year coach. But like I said, this offense is going to be a really good offense if they put all the work in and get the chemistry going, which is like, I know the whole pandemic has slowed things down, but as I said before, it slowed it down for everyone. So everyone's going to have that same issue as well. And you know, stuff are opening back up. So they are being able to put the work in, get to know the teammates, get the chemistry and everything going. So don't be surprised when Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense actually shocks a lot of people in the NFL come next season. Because as I said before, Joe Burrow is a special player. He's got some special players around him. There's players at LSU that people had no idea who they were. He turned those guys into special players. And just watch what he does with the special players that he already has and see how he can elevate them even more. But yeah, that being said, let me know what you think down below. Make sure you give me a thumbs up. If you enjoyed this, subscribe. Make sure to ring the bell for notifications. And I'll see you on another video soon.